Thank you. Thank you all very much. You're very, very kind. I appreciate you.
Thank you for sharing such a emotional and such a memorable father and man. You know, please, thank you for accepting our invitation. And how was that? He watched with us. How was that to watch again such a...
Yeah, I was actually speaking to my father earlier today. He's like, oh, you're going to sit and watch it? I was like, yeah, I suppose so. Normally, I don't watch films back many times after I've made them. I might watch a film or a series with my family one time and then be like, okay, cool, it's not mine anymore. We've given it to our audience and there's nothing I can do to change it, you know? I come from a theatrical background where every night can be different. And every night you're pursuing what you've agreed as a company, but like with different energy, with a different audience. It is just different. Whereas with film, like sometimes you've done it and there's nothing else you can do again. So it can feel a bit helpless, but sitting in this room, watching it with you and hearing you respond to it, where you laughed and where you felt the emotion that we were trying to transmit to you was really edifying. So thank you for making me feel a lot better about the work that I did so long ago that I can't change. I appreciate you. Thank you.
The film made story, you know, in Cannes for the first Nigerian film to play in Cannes this year. Yes, and it won the special mention. How do you feel this story, to bring this story and this whole to such incredible and global platform as Cannes?
Oh, I can. Can. I don't even know if Cannes was like a dream of mine because I always just had heard of it or knew it to be one of the pinnacles of film in the world, you know, film festivals, film sharing, like what a hallowed sort of environment to be in. So when Rachel Dargaville, the producer, one of the producers, was just like, so we're hoping to submit it to Cannes next year, I was just like, that's hilarious, because we don't know if the sound is right. We're checking the gate every 5 minutes, and sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not. I need to get to the end of this production before we even consider sending it to Cannes, you know? And then whether it's prophetic or serendipitous, I'm not sure what the word is, but we found out that we'd been accepted to Cannes exactly a year after we wrapped. Which was like, yeah, really quite a spiritual feeling. To be the first Nigerian film in competition at Cannes was like a blessing, an incredible accolade, but also a great surprise for us because the history of Nigerian cinema is deep and like very eclectic. It's got a long and rich history. So as much as it is wonderful to pioneer Nigerian cinema in competition at Cannes, it's also a bit of a surprise and a shame that like Nigerian cinema has not traveled further than it has already, or hasn't been celebrated on that at that level. So we hope that we have started fostering and building connections between not only Nigeria and the UK, but Nigeria and Cannes and European cinema and hopefully American cinema as well, so that we can continue to have this cultural exchange and learn from each other and celebrate each other more in the future than we have done in the past.
I also discovered Aknola there in Cannes, the filmmaker, the director, writer. He wrote with his brother, no?
Yeah.
They Wallace?
Wally.
Yeah. Wally, yeah. And took my heart so deeply. And also, I'd like to know how he approached you with this and what drew you in this character?
So Akiola was known to me before we met. We'd never met before we met. That's how that works. But in the London sort of black film space, he was a name that kept popping up. He had a BAFTA-nominated short in Lizard that he'd made before this, and other shorts. He was an excellent commercial director, had some music videos as well, and just someone with a really interesting eye and voice that I just kept hearing his name ringing around these social circles. So when it was like, oh, Aki wants to meet you, I was just like, yeah, of course, cool, this is exciting. And he's such a wonderful, humble, down-to-earth guy. We met in a park near both of our houses. We just walked around the park for a bit, then sat at this cafe and shared our experiences as men, as Nigerian men in the diaspora, as the sons of our fathers, you know. And whilst we had quite different upbringings, he spent his time in between Nigeria and England, and I was just in England. His father passed when he was very young. My father, like I said, I spoke to him today. There was still a lot of connectivity that we had in being diasporic Nigerian Yoruba men. And it was just actually really wonderful to be sat there in his presence, sharing time and space with him. And when he asked me to be in his film, he said, I'm going to go to Nigeria, shoot this film, love you to be in it with me. I was like, yeah. Yeah, of course. Because I suppose I've managed to enter this space in my career where I'm able to not just choose jobs that I think are going to progress my career, but also like make art that speaks to me personally, like, or is fostering conversations that I want to have with audiences. And masculinity, diaspora, fatherhood, which is not something, it's not a period of my life that I've stepped into, but I hope to at some point in my life. Absence are all things that I would love to discuss with my art, and this film was a wonderful way to encapsulate all of those conversations. I'd also said many times that that diasporic theme that I've been discussing is really interesting to me because sometimes one can feel trapped in an identity. I never lived in Nigeria, and actually shooting the film was the longest that I'd ever spent in the country, despite both my parents being Nigerian, and I had gone back and forth to celebrate birthdays or weddings or, unfortunately, funerals more often recently than before. But I'd always wanted to feel more Nigerian or to feel more connected with my country and my culture. And there is a wonderful richness in the diaspora and how we celebrate and how we carry culture overseas, but it's not the same as when you're from the place. So when I was given this opportunity to work in Nigeria and live in Nigeria and perhaps become a bit more Nigerian, it was something that I personally wanted to jump at and grab with both hands. So when he afforded me that opportunity, it was immediately a yes. And I've actually said a bunch of times that the script may not have been as good as it is, and I probably still would have said yes, just for that opportunity to connect with the culture and my motherland. Thankfully, the film and story is as good as it is, which made that decision even easier.
Another huge thing in the film is your relationship with these two kids. Mm-hmm. How it's such incredible chemistry now, and was the first time you act with kids, and how did you build that relationship? Is so is lovely, mm-hmm. and Florian, he is full of ambiguity, mm-hmm. also fair and love and things like that. How was the work to bring this chemistry because it's totally there.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. When I think back to the first time that I met these two boys in like a pre-production rehearsal in this like playground in Nigeria, in Lagos, and how sort of like averse to me they were, how sort of shy and scared and just like, who's this guy who's come from abroad? And he's going to be our dad. I don't know about that. What was a real gift was the fact that they are brothers in real life. And they were sort of like, there was an open casting, street casting that Shaheen Beg and her associates did in Nigeria to find these children. And the fact that they were already brothers was a great gift because it allowed them to have an anchor moving through this, because they'd never acted before as well. I don't even know if they'd done drama classes, but they just have this wonderful charisma that we were able to harness for the film. So they grew into becoming actors and grew into how it is to be on set. And then it was a real joy for me to help guide them through that as well. You know, to an extent, I ostensibly became their like guardian or chaperone or parental figure in the making of the film as well as in the portraying of those characters. And to be honest, like, you work hard, you do your preparation, you bring your background, disposition, and your talent to a role, but I don't think you can become a father without children. And they really helped to inform my performance, you know. I learned so much about myself and the father that I would like to become from them, and I'm so grateful to them for that. I feel really sad that I've not been able to see them or connect with them much since we wrapped. However, this film will be screening at the London Film Festival next week, and I've been told that they will be there. So it's going to be, I'm really excited for like that reunion and how that's going to feel.
Also, the film is like set in a, let's say, very difficult Nigerian political moment. You know, how that affecting your character? You have some memories about your parents or talking about that period for you. How was that?
Yeah, so the film is set in 1993. I was born in 1991, so I don't remember it at all. And my parents had emigrated from Nigeria to the UK to have their children, so they weren't there at the time that this happened, which means that they don't have any memories themselves necessarily. And I spoke to my grandma, who was alive at the time of making it, and she was just like, yeah, I kind of removed myself from all of that. I think there was a lot of fear and a lot of anxiety as to where the country was going to go. I love my country, Nigeria, and I celebrate it in every way that I can, but it is a politically complicated country. And I think that the election of 1993 was a really specific fulcrum point that the country could have become the hope and the dream is that the country could have become so much more than it is at that point if we had maintained civilian rule. But, you know, it's always, the grass is always greener on the other side, you know? We don't actually know how the country may have turned out if that election had not been annulled, but it's where we place our hope. In the same way the boys place their hope in this father figure that they don't get to access that often. I think Wale and Akiola both speak about that moment of history being a dream or a hope deferred. And I think as a country, we're still dreaming and hoping that we will be able to become better, if not in our lifetimes, then for our children.
I'm gonna back to you sitting in that chair and watching you again on the screen. What's the moment that you watched that and said, "Oh, that will stay with me"? What took you the most for this character and at that moment in the screen?
Yeah, I think I'm always charmed by the boys. I'm always charmed by their little mannerisms, their interactions, and like Godwin leaning off the back of the truck and giving the thumbs up, you know?
And also that moment that they put the hair on his brother in his
Yeah,
shoulder. Oh,
yeah. I think one of the reasons I don't watch my films back too much is because I struggle to just see the story. I'm always a bit like vainly judging my performance. But I think in this screening, I was able to sit back and see what Akiola has achieved in the direction and the edit and the fallibility and playfulness of memory and how like the more you try and remember something, the more the memory degrades. And I think I experienced that in this watching of the film in a way that I hadn't before. So I'll watch it again next week, and maybe I'll get something else. But
You said for us.
I think by the time I watch it next week, it'll be the most I've ever seen a single film, except The Dark Knight. You know.
We are running out of time here, but I'd like to know I'd like to know what kind of role and characters of stories are you most excited to explore now after you have such incredible? Because we remember him. He did you does such incredible things. You did horror, action, drama, and you know what you were most interested now. You are shooting now, no? He is in shooting Netflix or something like that.
I'm doing a television series for Netflix at the moment.
Yes, production, the Obama, no?
Yeah. Obama's one of the EPs on the production.
Yes, I know.
He name dropped, I didn't.
But what you looking the most now to do? What do you I'd love to make. To do that. I know you come from theater, you know, also that can be into theater.
I suppose actually, I was watching this and being like, oh, this is very different from Gangs of London or Slow Horses or any of those run and gun series that I've done before.
His house.
It's different from His House as well.
Yeah.
And I want to continue to be able to look back on my career and be like, oh yeah, it's different. There isn't like this thematic continuity where I get typecast as a character who only does one sort of thing. So the next thing I'm going to do is like a detective thriller, which is different to what I've done before. And I have another like political diasporic thriller coming up. I mean, I can't escape diasporic projects because I'm black, you know? But in terms of things that I'd like to do next in the future, I don't want to be too prescriptive. I'm always interested in the story first. I would love to have this like bingo card of all the different genres of like, yep, done that. Haven't done sci-fi yet, would like to do that. Actually, technically I have done sci-fi with Black Mirror, but what I haven't really done is fantasy. And I think I'd be really interested to play in that space. What I would not be interested in is the prosthetics and the hours in the makeup chair. But if the story's good and it's going to have a conversation that I'm interested in and engage with audiences like yourselves, then I can't wait.
May I have one question from the audience? Okay, I got it. Hola, yeah. You are expecting for that.
Yes. I'm wondering how much your experience of making this movie informs and impacts your experience in the present. We have a president who lies about elections, who sits in cities. We have federal workers who are working right now who are not being paid for their work. And I mean, I'm wondering if that strikes you at all in terms of like how it feels to see what's going on right now.
This is why we tell stories, so that we don't forget our culture and history, and we can see how far or how not very far we've come. This film is set 32 years ago, and we're coming back into a cycle where we're dealing with politics and leaders like this again. I don't think Nigeria is a case study that the US should be following. I would dissuade you against that. But to tell human levels at this level, human stories at this level, in the political backdrop of Nigeria then and America now and many other different regimes across the world, I think it's really important to remember to connect with each other as human beings at this level, and at a familiar level and a community level, because that's the only way we get through political situations like the one that we're in at the moment. It's a shame. It's difficult that history repeats itself, but the only way to break the cycle is together.
Thank you. I wanted to thank you again. Thank you so much, but so much. And thank you for coming.
Yeah,
you
thank
know,
you so
it's
much
a
for sharing
pleasure
it
to
with
have
us.
you all here. Just a reminder that the Father's Shadow competes for our audience award. So please, the QR code, never there when I say, oh, the QR code, and it's not there, you know? And okay, exists one QR code that maybe is outside or in your tickets. You scan your ticket or visiting mvff.com/vote. Vote, okay? Thank you so much. We still have one more day coming.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, SOPE.